Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're sitting out in the beautiful sunshine. In fact, it might be a little bit too much, but it's early morning, 10, so it's still a little cool, but nice and sunny, beautiful blue sky, as you can see behind us here. And over here. Alright, so we're reading from the Bhagavatam. Where are we?
Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 21.
What's the chapter entitled?
Dhruva Maharaj leaves home.
Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 21. Suniti informed her son, your grandfather Swayambhuva Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby with unflinching faith and devotion he worships and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way he achieved the greatest success in material happiness, and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. Purport: the success of one's life is measured by one's material happiness in this life and liberation in the next. Such success can be achieved only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words ekamatya means concentrating one's mind on the Lord without deviation. This process of undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord is also expressed in Bhagavad Gita's Ananya Bhak. That which is impossible to obtain from any other source is also mentioned here. Other source refers to worship of the demigods. It is especially stressed here that the opulence of Manu was due to his undeviating faithfulness in the transcendental service of the Lord. One who diverts his mind to worshipping many demigods to obtain material happiness is considered bereft of intelligence. If anyone wants even material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation, and persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. Interesting. In light of some conversations lately we've been having, it says here that just like the success of Swayambhuva Manu's life, he achieved the greatest success, material happiness and attained liberation simply by engaging in devotional service. He likes coffee, is what I do.
No, because I couldn't see.
He's a coffee guy. Oh dear.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's just Suniti, Dhruva Maharaj, his mum, saying, don't worry, you'll be alright. Just go and worship God and you'll get what you want materially, and then afterwards you'll get liberated as well, so it's 2 for 1.
2 for 1, yeah. But what's your point? You said in light of conversations recently, this comes up because...
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if you need to get specific or whatever, I don't know. You just brought that up. I didn't feel like you finished your sentence.
I was just being diplomatic.
Lord have mercy. Okay. Moving right along. Text 22. Got no idea what's going on around here most of the time, I gotta tell you. My dear boy, you also should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees. Persons seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. Becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation, just situate the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart, and without deviating for a moment, engage always in his service. Very powerful instruction from Suniti. It seems like she's quite an advanced person herself to be able to give those kind of instructions. So purport. The system of Bhakti Yoga described by Queen Suniti to her son is the standard way of God realization. Everyone can continue in his constitutional occupational duties and at the same time keep the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. This was also instructed by the Lord himself to Arjuna in the Gita. Quote, go on fighting, but keep me within your mind. End quote. That should be the motto of every honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Queen Suniti advised her son that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bitesize, which indicates that he is very kind to his devotees. Bitesize. It's interesting. I've never heard that term before. Bitesize. Very kind to his devotees. She said, you came to me crying having been insulted by your stepmother, but I am unable to do any good for you. But Krishna is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him in the combined kindness of millions of mothers like me will be surpassed by his affection and tender dealings. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotee. That's important. I just had a conversation with one senior devotee whose health, mental and physical health, are not so good, and I'm just thinking, God, how to help this person. But here you go. This is it. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotee. Queen Suniti also stressed that the process of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy, but is sought after by great sages who are very advanced in spiritual realization. Queen Suniti also indicated by her instruction that Dhruva Maharaj was only a small child, 5 years old, and it was not possible for him to purify himself by the way of karma kanda. But by the process of Bhakti Yoga, even a child less than 5 years old or anyone of any age can be purified. That is the special significance of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, she advised him not to accept worship of the demigods or any other process, but simply to take to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the result would be all perfection. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. Well, this is brilliant. First, again, Suniti is obviously a spiritually advanced person. Of course, the queens and kings of that time were all meant to be exceptionally religious and spiritually minded. But, she's giving some very good advice to her son. She can't help him, and she knows the only person who can help him is Krishna, is God himself. So she's instructing him to go and find God. And as the previous verse said, he'll be able to help you materially and spiritually. Ultimately spiritually, but right now you just want some material reciprocation, so he can also help with that. So, many very valuable and important points. And I'm getting a phone call that I need to take, but I have to stop. Okay.
Text 23. My dear Dhruva, as far as I'm concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods such as Lord Brahma seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. Purport. Suniti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result, but actually that is not a fact. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction, since the spirit soul is eternal. And he has also said in Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Suniti told her son that he should not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mitigate his misery. So it's just emphasizing more the points that have been made, that you said that she's realized, that you just said, if he wants real relief and assistance, I should go to God, because I can't help you. It's interesting because sometimes it's two ways of looking at it. Sometimes when I'm talking like real time now.
Talking about what?
Real time. Our time. Sometimes when you're talking to devotees, you do want to say, when you're talking to devotees and you're distressed, upset and a bit distraught, a bit angry and all that, you do want to say, how's your sadhana? Because there is a correlation between how they respond or react and where they're at spiritually. So that's there, but at the same time it's also considered in some situations insensitive. If you pour your heart out, someone says, "Why don't you just chant your rounds?" When was the last time you actually chanted your rounds? When was the last time you picked up Prabhupada's book? So it's difficult, because it's true, sometimes people just want to be heard and want to not be judged, and so you need to be able to go and chant, because you're feeling so shut down everywhere else. But a lot of the times you do find the Krishna element is missing when things go, when you're challenged. It's easy to have him there when you're not actually. You may offer your food, you may put some kirtan on, I may go to the temple and see the devotees, but when things go pear-shaped or belly up, often Krishna is the first thing out the window.
Interesting. Yeah, the most important ingredient, as we heard earlier, to success in any situation is Krishna. And if he goes out the window and we don't put him into whatever we're cooking, then, it seems like that's a recipe for disaster, a recipe for not success, but distress, like that. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his different potencies, and specifically the Goddess of Fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulences seek the pleasure of or mercy of the Goddess of Fortune. Even the highly placed demigods worship the Goddess of Fortune, but the Goddess of Fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes to the worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the Goddess of Fortune. At this stage of his life, Dhruva Maharaj was seeking material opulences, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences it is better to worship not the demigods, but the Supreme Lord. This is a famous verse in the Bhagavatam, Akama sarvakama vamokshakama udara dihi, which I quote often, which Krishna says, Akama if you have no material desires, Sarvakama if you're full of material desires, or Mokshakama if you want liberation, whatever it is, you should come to me. So like that, Krishna, although as quote-unquote pure devotees, we shouldn't ask Krishna what he can do for us, we should ask Krishna what we can do for him, but nevertheless, something is hanging down on your face.
What is hanging on my face?
No, it's just the sun, the shadow on your face.
Alright.
So like that,
regroup.
But at the same time, our mood shouldn't be that we go to him, but if we're not on the pure devotional level, which, let's be honest, most of us aren't, then we go through the process, and we whatever it is that we want or need, we have to go to Krishna and to get it. Because as it says here, he's in charge of the material energy also. So like that.
Next paragraph. Although a pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association with the Supreme Lord. Thus he becomes free from all material desires. He is elevated to the platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised to the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Okay. So yeah, you should go to Krishna, regardless of the...
Did you just read the same?
No. No, it's the third one. Did you read the wrong one?
No, I just read that one.
That means you read the wrong one.
No, because you read first, right?
Yeah.
And so you read that in the first one. I read the second one.
And I read the third one.
Yeah.
That's just... Alright, never mind. Right, do you want to read the next paragraph?
Alright. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva, was a far-seeing woman. Therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus-eyed, Padma Palasha Lochanat. When a person is fatigued, if he sees a lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Okay. Similarly, when an aggrieved person sees the lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately all his grief is reduced. A lotus flower is also an insignia in the hand of Lord Vishnu, as well as in the hand of the Goddess of Fortune. The worshippers of the Goddess of Fortune and Lord Vishnu together are certainly very opulent in all respects, even in material life. Interesting. The Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Varinchi Mutam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. So, yeah, I just made a note that this was a nice name. Padma Palasha Lochanat. So that is, didn't say what it means. These lotus eyes. Padma Palasha Lochanat. So a lot of mention.
Yeah, it says it in the verse translation.
Yeah.
The lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, we know the lotus has this special significance because the lotus starts in the murk of the lake or pond or kund, but it grows up through the water, and then when the lotus flower actually blooms, it sits on top of the water. So it's the example of transcendence because it's in the water, comes from the water, but it's not affected by the water. It means that it sits above the water, and if beads of water go on it, they just immediately glide right off. So in this way, the lotus is always a good analogy for us as aspiring transcendentalists to recognize how one can become free from the binds of material energy. And thus that's why Krishna's face is compared to a lotus, his feet are compared to a lotus, because it's transcendental. It's not of this world, it's otherworldly, like that. Okay, anything else?
No.
I think I've gone sunblind at this point.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to stop here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know if you can see us. We can't see you, that's for sure. So, yeah, please read the Bhagavatam, and remember, it is Bhadra Purnima coming up at the end of the month. If anyone wants a set of Bhagavatams, let us know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Taigo Premanandi.
Hare